All right, welcome back, everybody. We're in an interesting moment right now in the Mark Gooch trial. The man accused of killing Sasha Krause. On the stand is Esther Schrey, a friend of the victim. Now, the prosecution called her to help to establish that maybe she observed a suspicious vehicle in this Mennonite community, a vehicle that the prosecution wants to say was the defendant's car. Yet under cross-examination by the defense, that might not have been the case. It might not have been the car that she thought it was. It might have been another person's car. And some of her statements are actually inconsistent with things that she said in the past. So let's go back live. We're going to hear this cross-examination. And if I were a betting man, I would say the state is going to have to jump back in to rehabilitate this witness. Let's go back live.
As I asked you about the vehicle that went by, that drove by, and I asked you whether you described that as a white SUV. Do you recall that question?
Yes, I thought it was you asked if it was a truck or an SUV. Sorry.
You answered, am I correct, that I wonder if it wasn't a truck, but yeah, it was something white. I didn't take it real close. And then I asked you further again, did you see that vehicle again? No, I did not. You then further said, so it's just a glimpse of something white, maybe an SUV, maybe a truck. Is that what you're saying? That's right. Is that fair? Is that a fair understanding of what you told me?
Yes.
Thank you.
Oh, sure.
Do you have any knowledge of what kind of a car Mark Gooch had at the time?
No.
I have no further questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Griffin. Mr. Barker.
All right, Esther, just a few more questions. Thank you. Regarding the question counsel was asking you about the legs, seeing some legs. Now, go back to that exhibit again, Exhibit 17. Let's be very specific about what you said. And let's go to the same page that counsel is referring to. This is page 14.
Mr. Barker. Oh, sorry. You may.
Page 14 of that exhibit, top of the page, how do you refer to seeing those legs? Do you say, I'm absolutely certain there are legs? What do you say?
I'm not certain that it was.
But what do you say in that transcript to the police right after this happened?
It's just like I just thought I saw a pair of legs.
I thought. Okay, so even then you weren't sure about what you were seeing. Is that fair?
No, I wasn't sure.
Right, and the same thing could be said about this white car or truck or SUV, right? In other words, you didn't know what kind of vehicle you were seeing when you were looking at this white vehicle?
Well, I think it was more of a truck, but no, I don't know what it was.
And as you mentioned earlier, that wouldn't have been unusual to see a car driving that time of night, 7:30, 8 o'clock at night. Is that fair?
Yeah, that wouldn't have been unusual.
At that time, did you think, oh, this is strange, I better call somebody at the church, tell them there's a white vehicle driving around?
No, I didn't.
And even when you saw the car parked in the lower parking lot of the church, did you think that was odd?
Not really.
Because that's something you would have done if you needed to get supplies for church the next day or get ready for a lesson, is that right?
Yes.
Did you later learn that that vehicle belonged to Samuel Kuhn?
Objection. Foundation.
Sustained.
Leading.
So we already established that Samuel Kuhn was a member of the Mennonite community there, right?
Yes.
And someone you've known how many years now?
A fair amount.
Okay. And do you know what he was driving that time of year, or that, I guess, back in 2020?
It's been asked and answered already.
Overruled.
Do you know?
I don't usually check into what people are driving very much.
All right. And we've established that. I appreciate that, Esther. So even someone in your own community, you weren't keeping tabs on what everyone's
All right,
Is that
Ann, want to
fair?
get your perspective here on the testimony of Esther Schrei. What do you make of her ability to confirm that there was this car, and is the jury believing it's the defendant's?
Wow, I would totally agree with Tammy 110%. I mean, she's supposed to be a bombshell witness, and I think, as Tammy said, she bombed. I mean, you wonder, was she prepped? Was she interviewed? I mean, it's like you have to impeach your own witness, and then she's not certain. Maybe it's a van, maybe it's some other kind of car. The best testimony, of course, is that it looked out of place, and, she could talk about some of those kinds of things. But, primacy, recency, Jesse. I mean, you start with a strong witness, and you
Right.
end with a strong witness. And this was not a good way to start with the prosecution.
Well, I'll tell you this much. I'm going to be very curious to see if the jury has any questions for her. This is one of those trials where the jury can ask questions, and sometimes it gives you an insight into what the jury's thinking. So we will wait and see. Let's take a very, very quick break. When we come back, we'll see if we can jump live in court. Stay with us here on Long Crime. We'll be back.
You can either spin the wheel and win a delicious meal with an affordable price tag, or you can pay $100 for this drawing of dinner.
I'm gonna need a second to think about it.
Okay, well, while he's figuring that out, Emily, what's it gonna be?
The wheel.
Emily, you've won a delicious, simple, and satisfying dinner with every plate. Get your first box for only $1.99 a meal using offer code EPTV199.
From the makers of top-selling Super Beets comes new Super Beets Heart Chews, a superfood breakthrough that's bursting with flavor and unique polyphenols that help support healthy blood pressure and circulation so your body can produce more heart-healthy energy.
The chews are so great. Super Beets gets me going. It gets my circulation flowing, and I have that energy all through the day. It's just fantastic. I love it.
When I researched Super Beets, I was impressed by all the science behind the Super Beets chews. It's amazing that something so simple can be this great for my heart.
What makes Super Beets polyphenols so different from other antioxidants? In a leading clinical study, Super Beets polyphenol compound was shown nearly 2 times as effective at promoting normal blood pressure as a healthy lifestyle alone.
In my 31 years of helping people maintain healthy blood pressure, I've never seen a polyphenol compound this effective. Super Beets antioxidants help support healthy blood pressure and help your body produce more energy.
I never knew how my blood pressure and my blood flow were so connected to my energy level, and now I know. I'm playing tennis longer. I don't get tired after one set. I can totally feel the difference.
Call now and find out how you can get a free 30-day supply of Super Beets Heart Chews plus a free bonus pack of delicious vitamin D3 chews for immune health support. Act now, and we'll even include free shipping and free returns, all backed by our 90-day money-back guarantee. That's over $30 in total free gifts. So try Super Beets Chews today.
I love the chews because they're delicious and they're so convenient.
I absolutely love what they do for my energy. My blood pressure is healthy, and my energy level has been phenomenal.
So do something good for your blood pressure and your energy. Love your results or your money back.
Call 1-800-653-3280 or visit superbeetschews.com. That's 1-800-653-3280. Call today.
For more than 150 years, Brinks has been trusted with keeping your money safe. Now, Brinks introduces the Brinks Money Prepaid MasterCard to help protect what matters most to you. When having confidence that your money is safe matters most, Brinks can help.
I trust Brinks to help me do the right things with my money, and my family trusts me.
When having control of your money matters most, you can trust Brinks. Just load money onto your card account or use direct deposit.
Direct deposit puts our money in our hands faster than a paper check.
And Brinks helps us spend responsibly. We can track our purchases and pay bills online.
Call now or go online to order your Brinks Money Prepaid MasterCard. There's no credit check and no cost to order. And with a qualifying direct deposit, we'll upgrade you to Brinks Preferred, including a savings account that can earn up to a 5% annual percentage yield. Call 1-800-990-2419. Right now to order your Brinks Money Prepaid MasterCard. There's no cost to order. Call now.
Oh, hey, bud. Where are you headed?
Just gonna hang out.
With Gary and Todd?
Yeah?
I've been meaning to ask you, is there any drinking going on in this crowd?
No.
If any of your buddies ever pressure you to take a drink, just tell them you promised your dad you wouldn't. I'd do anything to keep you safe.
Okay, I will.
I hope this is working.
I promise. Love you too, Dad.
They really do hear you. For tips on what to say, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov.
I'm Brian Buckmeyer, and you're watching Law and Crime.
All right, welcome back. We're live in the Mark Gooch trial, and this is the man accused of killing Sasha Krause. And on the stand is a friend of the victim, Sasha Krause. And what's interesting is the jury has the opportunity right now to ask questions of this witness. The focus is on what kind of car did she see in this community, because they want to know, was it the defendant's car? So they asked her, can you describe this vehicle? Was it a minivan? What kind? Describe it as best you can. Let's go back to these jury questions.
That looked like a van or similar to a van, and it would have been coming, like I couldn't see, it was too dark, so I don't know if it was legs or not.
And this is the second question. And again, just reading it verbatim the way it's written. How far away was she? They're asking you this question.
Well, I was walking on that lane that goes up past the church. So I don't know how far you judge that.
I'm sorry, so you don't know how far what?
I don't know how many feet you would say that is.
Do you always walk home the same way after work?
Not always.
Do you always get off at the same time?
No.
When walking home, do you always look at the church?
Usually.
Had there been any cars by Sasha's car when the witness walked by the church? So they're asking you that question.
No.
What is the approximate distance between the Gingrich home and the church?
I don't know.
Counsel, I don't know that I can ask this last question the way it's written. Can you approach, please?
Tammy, always interesting when the jury gets to ask questions. What do you think they want to know? What are they taking away from this witness? I mean, it's now in their hands.
You know, I think, Jesse, that the jurors probably have questions to try to figure out what this witness actually knows. As you stated earlier, she's supposed to be that bombshell witness that has this very pertinent information that's relevant to the prosecution's case. However, as we see, you know, a lot of her responses are, I don't know, she doesn't remember, not really directly answering any of the questions that can help the jury connect the dots. So perhaps the jury has questions as to, what is she talking about? What does this mean? And that is what I do believe is happening and what's going through their mind.
So let's jump back live, and we're going to hear maybe this question in the way that it should be reiterated to the witness.
Of the witness, because I cannot edit or change the words in your questions. I can not ask a question, or I could potentially leave some words out of your question, but I cannot change your question and edit it. All right. When the witness, so they, I believe, are asking you, when the witness noticed the white truck passing by or at the intersection before the church. So let me try. So do you understand the question? So I'm going to do this, but so this is how it's written. I am unclear. Well, I shouldn't be telling you if a juror is unclear. That's not part of the question, but maybe it's going to help you understand the question, and maybe it can help me understand and the attorneys. So it's written like this. I am unclear as to when the witness noticed the white truck passing by or at the intersection before the church. So Can you tell the jury, if you know, when did you notice the white truck passing by? And I'm going to let the attorneys do follow-up, so they might be able to do some follow-up to clear up this question. So again, if you understand the question, can you try and answer it? If you don't understand the question, then just let us know that.
Is it asking when I saw the truck?
Well, if you want to assume that's what it means, go ahead and answer it, explaining that's what you understand the question to be, and I'll let the attorneys do follow-up.
I don't know what, yeah.
You don't know what? I'm sorry.
I mean, am I supposed to try to answer what I think, or?
You know what? I think at this point, it sounds like you're confused, and I'm going to let the attorneys try to follow up, see if they can try to decipher what the question's asking. Okay? Mr. Barker?
Let's try to take this chronologically. You got out of the Gingrich home at what time?
When I left, it was probably close to about 5 to 8.
5 to 8 p.m., correct?
Yes.
And the first car you see is a white vehicle, maybe a truck or SUV. Is that fair?
Yes.
And that was kind of, I guess, closer to the Gingrich home than the church at that point. Is that true?
Yes.
All right. And then you walk up the dirt road toward the church, and you see a van, what you think is a van, on that bottom level of the church parking lot, right?
Yes.
And then you continue walking up, and on the top level, you see Sasha's car, right?
Yes.
Okay. So this is all happening. How long does it take you to walk from the Gingrich home to Sasha's car?
Well, when I had seen that white vehicle before I left the Gingrich home, and then I hadn't left right away.
Okay.
So
What time did you see the white car then?
I think that was maybe, I thought it was maybe about 7:45.
All right, so 7:45, you see the white car, then you leave the Gingrich home at about 5 to 8,
Yes.
and then you're walking up. How long does it take to walk from the Gingrich home to the church?
It's less than maybe about 3 minutes or something,
All right, so maybe 8 o'clock when you actually hit the church?
maybe.
All right. Those are all the follow-up I have, Judge. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Griffin?
No, I don't have further questions. Thank you.
You know, I forgot just to confirm that the jury didn't have any other questions when I turned things over to Mr. Barker to try to help with that last question. So let me just make sure. Do any of the jurors have any more questions of this witness before they're excused? Okay. All right. No other questions. May this witness be excused?
Yes, thank you.
All right. You're excused. You can step down. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, folks, it's a little bit after 8. I apologize. It's 4:08. I'm gonna excuse you here in just a few minutes. Just wanted to, we were so close to finishing that last witness. I hope you understand. It's the only reason I kept you. So, and understand too, I hope that no one perceives me giving the jury a difficult time about your questions. I don't mean that. But if you can see, we're not allowed to change your questions in any way. So just think about that. When you go to write a question, think about as if you were asking it yourself of the juror, and that'll help us understand, I believe, what you're asking, and the attorneys can, of course, do follow up as you've seen. All right, so because we're not going to see you again until next Tuesday. Several days are going to go by. Just want to remind you of the admonition. Please do not formulate any opinions about the case. To keep an open mind. Do not talk to anyone about the case, and do not let anyone talk to you about it, including each other. And remember, stay away from any media on this case. So what I mean by that is if you are watching television.
Well, and she might have said to the jury, I don't want you to take anything from this, but she is kind of frustrated at the jury's questions a little bit. I mean, they do, it's amazing. They are paying very close attention to what's going on, but are they just not articulating as clearly as they might be able to what they want from this witness?
Yeah, I mean, she was definitely frustrated, and then she explained why, and hopefully that'll change things. But when you look at juror questions, I don't know that they're that helpful most of the time. When I was a prosecutor, I had a juror ask a question in a drug-related trial. If the defendant has so much money to buy drugs, how come he has a public defender? I mean, those are the kind of questions you get, and you're like, that's what they're thinking. I mean, is it really the adversarial process when you have jurors weighing in on things that may not be admissible? You drag down the testimony, et cetera, and then you see here that's what's on their minds, but it really wasn't very helpful, was it? So hopefully it gets better, but it's frustrating, and this witness was frustrating. I think it was kind of a wash and not a bombshell.
Well, at least their question was on point about whose car exactly this was. And I'll say, look, at this point, maybe it's good to hash out these questions now so the jury doesn't just start speculating in a deliberation room when you can't really address it. But we are going to. Well, there you go. Well, we're going to switch gears right now, and because obviously they're done for the night. But we have a lot more to talk about. So let's focus right now on the trial of R&B singer R. Kelly. As you know, Kelly is facing sex abuse charges, including sex trafficking, kidnapping, sexual exploitation of a child. We're talking about racketeering, a lot of different things. And Kelly decided not to testify on his own behalf. And after 5 weeks of trial, deliberations are underway as the closing arguments concluded yesterday. So let's hear how the prosecution's closing argument went by our very own Bernarda Villalona, who reported outside the Brooklyn Federal Courthouse. Take a look.
The prosecution has finally concluded their closing arguments that lasted about 6 hours. The prosecution went on to represent that these 6 victims in this case, Aaliyah, Stephanie, Sonia, Yohanda, Jane, and Faith, were all victims of R. Kelly's sexual predatory behavior. During these 6 hours, the prosecutor was able to say how his inner circle comprised this enterprise, in which the enterprise enabled him in order to engage in these sexual activities to get these girls for R. Kelly. With this closing argument, they were able to break down each Jane Doe 1 through 6, what evidence has been shown to this jury for them to be able to find him guilty. The sexual exploitation of a child, the forced labor, the bribery, the kidnapping. You heard all of that evidence presented during this closing arguments, as well as what is the corroboration for these jurors to be able to believe these victims in this case. And they went from letters, from phone records, from videos, from statements from other people that testified to corroborate that they're not just making it up for the first time. Aside from that, they also went from one of the victims, Jane Doe's, having a shirt that contained the DNA of R. Kelly when she engaged sex when she was not of age to be able to consent. In addition to that, this prosecutor was able, at the end, told this jury it is time that for decades R. Kelly believed he could get away with this, and that the time is now to hold him accountable, to convict him for his predatory behavior and what he did to these victims, and that the time is now.
All right, it's great to have Bernarda give that kind of firsthand account of this. But, Tammy, let's start there. We hear the prosecution. They seem to throw everything at him during the past few weeks, and they seem to throw everything at him during this closing argument. Overall, how confident are you that the prosecution is going to secure maybe at least one conviction against R. Kelly, if not across the board?
You know what, Jesse, it depends. There's no way to confidently say that the prosecution is going to secure a conviction. Am I confident that the prosecution has met their high burden of beyond a reasonable doubt for not only the racketeering charges, but for the Mann Act charges? I believe they have. And the jury could find Mr. Kelly guilty of these charges. I think it's very interesting that we saw these closing arguments by defense attorney Koenig that really did not address the prosecution's very well laid out arguments and the evidence. Instead, he focused his attention on Martin Luther King Jr. comparisons, former Vice President Pence's references to his wife as mother, and he also quoted things that did not really raise doubt. And again, as we know, the defense should be trying to raise doubt in order to convince the jury that Mr. Kelly is not guilty of these very egregious charges. I think it is noteworthy that, Mr. Kelly's attorney, several months before this trial in Brooklyn in federal district court, withdrew their appearance from the case because of some arguments they were having internally with how they were going to present the defense. Mr. Koenig is showing exactly why those attorneys withdrew their appearance. And it's also noteworthy that Mr. Koenig represented the defendant who was accused of kidnapping rapper Tekashi 6ix9ine, and we all know that he was not successful with that federal trial. So unfortunately, I don't think that he has chipped away at the doubt that's needed.
Well, I mean, Koenig even said that both Kelly and King sought to uphold the U.S. Constitution, make the country be true to its ideals. So, Ann, the big theme from the defense was that all these witnesses, 40, were lying for different reasons, and even said that, that they're benefiting from this, and that this is a quote, a lot of people were watching Surviving R. Kelly, and now a lot of people are surviving off R. Kelly. What do you make of that?
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm not going to say, from the sublime to the ridiculous, but it's kind of like we just saw the Jinx and then the Durst convictions. I mean, you could make that comparison, but you can't call those people liars. I mean, it never happens in criminal trials. You don't have that many liars. Especially when that snake exhibit they had kind of showing Kelly at the top and kind of all the tentacles, of all the people that he oversees in terms of this criminal enterprise.
The octopus,
and then finally, I think, octopus, that's right. When the defense really failed, and I think where they had a chance in closing, they lost it, not only by quoting and Martin Luther King, of all people, comparing him to R. Kelly, but also calling the prosecution's case, quote unquote, fluff. These are very serious charges, with very powerful testimony from a lot of people, backing the prosecution's case, calling it fluff and demeaning, the case and the witnesses, and then going into these kinds of comparisons that are just not appropriate comparisons. Right. Like Tammy said, I really wonder, about these lawyers in federal court. Some of these things might go a little ways in state court, but I don't think in federal court. And I think that they really failed at the end.
Well, we're going to wait and see, because there's going to be a lot for the jury to consider, but these closing arguments were definitely something to hear about. All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we have to talk to you about the latest of the groundbreaking case, the one that everyone is following, Gabby Petito. We'll be back.
I'm Terry Austin, and you're watching Law and Crime.
3 myths about meal kits debunked. Myth number 1, meal kits are super expensive. Actually, every plate is 50% cheaper than your local grocery store. Myth number 2, meal kits are complicated. Nope, our recipes take about 30 minutes and have only 6 simple steps. Myth number 3, meal kits aren't flexible. False. Choose new recipes every week. Customize your meals. Skip a meal or cancel anytime. Every plate, America's best value meal kit.
This is Marianne's first time visiting Paris.
Madame, où allez-vous?
Before Marianne packed her bags, before she attempted her first sentence in French, before she completed her first 15-minute lesson,
Yes.
she downloaded Babbel. Babbel helped unlock her lifelong dream of learning French. She started speaking in just 3 weeks. So when it came time to tell the cab driver to take her to the Hotel Pierre,
J'aimerais aller à l'Hôtel Pierre.
Oh, c'est très bien. J'espère que votre voyage s'est bien passé.
150 language experts and educators designed Babbel to be the most efficient and effective way to learn a new language. Babbel focuses on natural conversation. You'll remember what you learn, and you can speak and pronounce with confidence. Start speaking a new language in 3 weeks. Try it for free at Babbel.com.
Attention! If you've had a hernia surgery after 2006 and suffered from serious side effects such as infection, chronic pain, organ damage, mesh shrinkage, or mesh migration, you could be eligible for financial compensation. Call the law offices of Wright & Schulte right now at the number on your screen, or visit meshjustice.com now. Ethicon, a subsidiary of Johnson & Johnson, has withdrawn its PhysioMesh flexible composite mesh from the market. Again, if you've had complications from your hernia surgery after 2006, you could be eligible for financial compensation. We can find out what type of devices were used in your surgery. Call the law offices of Wright & Schulte immediately at the number on your screen, or visit meshjustice.com now. You deserve justice, and the call is free. And there is no fee unless we win your case. Call now for your free case evaluation. Again, call the law offices of Wright & Schulte immediately at the number on your screen, or visit meshjustice.com now.
We all want our kids to grow up safe and healthy, so we show them how, and we tell them with honest conversations that let them know what we expect. That's especially important when it comes to alcohol and other drugs. Kids need to know the dangers and how to avoid them. And when it comes to pain medications, opioids, they need to know that they should never be taken without a prescription and never shared with friends or family. It's dangerous and illegal. So talk with your kids, because when you talk, they hear you.
Gabby, this is a very, very important question. How you answer this question is going to determine what happens next. But the only person who can answer this question is you. Think very hard before you answer the question. Do not quickly answer it. Think very hard. When you slapped him those times, were you attempting to cause him physical pain or physical impairment? Was that what you were attempting to do to him? What were you attempting to do? What was the reason behind the slapping and stuff? What was it you were attempting to accomplish by slapping?
I was trying to get him to stop telling me to calm down.
That clip you just watched was of now deceased YouTube vlogger Gabby Petito, who had a domestic dispute with her fiance Brian Laundrie on August 12th, just about 2 weeks before she was last seen alive at a Tex-Mex restaurant in Jackson Hole, Wyoming. Petito embarked on a cross-country road trip with Laundrie starting in July out of Blue Point, New York, and the trip ended with Laundrie driving their converted van back alone to his parents' house in Northport, Florida on September 1st. On Sunday, remains were discovered in a remote area of Grand Teton National Park in Wyoming, and it was confirmed on Tuesday by the Teton County coroner that they were of 22-year-old Petito. And the initial cause of death or the manner of death, I should say, has been ruled a homicide, as the final autopsy results are pending. In most recent news, the U.S. District Court of Wyoming issued a federal warrant for Petito's fiancée after a grand jury indicted Laundrie for his, quote, use of unauthorized devices following Petito's death. According to the indictment, this unauthorized use included a debit card and PIN number for accounts that Laundrie didn't own, charging more than $1,000 on the card between August 30th and September 1st. Laundrie has been reported missing since September 14th, and a multi-day search has been in place by the FBI at the Carlton Reserve in Venice, Florida, to try to track him down, but no luck so far. Now, keep in mind, the official cause of death for Petito has not been released due to the public yet, and a lot of heads are still scratching as to what happened in the vlogger's last moments. Our own Linda Kenny Bodden interviewed her husband, forensic pathologist Dr. Michael Bodden, earlier this week to break down those preliminary findings. Let's hear what he had to say.
Can you tell us in lay people's terms what this all means?
What it means is that the coroner and the police and FBI, they know that the cause of death is a homicide, is a murder. They don't want to release any more information than they have to. They've ruled out accident, suicide, or some kind of natural death. And they don't want to give away too much information while they're still looking for the perpetrator. The further studies will be done on the toxicology and looking at things under the microscope, and also examining the evidence that was present on the body at the scene of death and taken during the autopsy, which would include things like insects. The insects are going to be a good guide to how long she was dead before the body was found. She's missing for about 25 days as far as been released thus far. A few days before she was found or around the time that she went missing will be very important for the prosecutor, for the police, in looking for the suspect.
Now, you said that the coroner released the finding of homicide. That is not a legal finding. That is a forensic finding. It doesn't necessarily mean murder. It could be manslaughter or any of the other crimes. But what's the difference between that as the manner of death and the cause of death, which has not been released?
Yeah. The cause of death is what caused the death. And the manner of death is a classification. The classification is 5 things. Natural, accident, suicide, homicide, or undetermined. By saying that this is a homicide, that is death at the hands of another, and it'll be up to the district attorney to decide first degree, second degree murder, whatever they proceed on, then clarifies what the investigation is all about. The most likely cause of death in this kind of a situation is manual strangulation. A male stronger than a female pressing on the neck until death occurs. Other possibilities would be blunt force trauma to the head with a rock or an object that causes fractures and hemorrhage in the brain, or shootings or stabbing would be the way that homicides are usually occur. Most likely, I think, is the manual strangulation in this kind of a situation.
So the fact that they did not release the cause of death, Michael, but they released the manner of death, indicates that there was something clear on the body to the investigators that they saw that said, this is clearly not natural. We're going to do toxicology to see what drugs are there, but we know that it wasn't an accidental overdose or anything of that sort, correct? Right, that clears that out. But also, the police know what the cause of death is. They know if it's a strangulation because they would find that out at the autopsy by hemorrhage being in the skin under the neck, even if the body has been there for 25 days. There'll be decomposition on the body, and there'd be a lot of animal activities that are in the area. But the cause of death would be what the police are looking at and proceeding with. And they don't have to release what the cause of death is yet, and they wouldn't release it perhaps until they catch the person they're looking for, just to make sure that it doesn't alert the person to excuses that he could give.
Tammy, I find that so fascinating. So we know this is a homicide. We just don't know exactly how she died, and it makes you wonder, why not just release it? You know, if everybody's presuming he did this, I'm referring to laundry, why not release it? Unless, of course, they have something, which I've been saying, maybe it is blunt force trauma, and they're not exactly sure what happened. They're not exactly sure. Remember, he's still a person of interest, right? I mean, yes, there's an arrest warrant for the debit card, and we'll get to that in a second. But in terms of the murder, he's not a suspect yet. And I'm curious, do they not know everything yet? They need to speak to him more.
Of course not, Jesse. They don't know everything yet, and that is exactly why when they're talking about the manner of death, it's very important not to conflate the two. The manner of death being a homicide, meaning somebody else did something to her, right? But the cause of death being a murder, no one knows yet, and no one will know until there is a trial or a plea that results in a guilty verdict for murder. Right now, Mr. Laundrie, yes, he's a person of interest. People are still looking for him. But a warrant that has been issued by the federal government, that's based on something completely different than the missing, the fact that Gabby Petito has been found dead, right? So there's a huge difference between the two, and no one can come out and just accuse him yet. Mm-hmm. Even though all of the facts point to him, in this country, he is innocent until proven guilty. And they got to too.
Especially since he hasn't been charged with murder. And you know, the strategic thing, they impaneled a grand jury and now have charged him with this, you know, using a debit card. It's not even entirely clear, although you might presume that it was her debit card. What is the strategy here? Why do this? What is the goal now that there's an arrest warrant for him for this kind of minor charge when he's being implicated in a murder? What's the strategy there, Ann?
Well, I mean, if you get him on the little one, you can arrest him, then you can basically get him in and question him on the greater charge, which is the murder. So that was kind of manna from heaven for them in certain ways, that they had this opportunity to charge him with something that was a lesser crime, much lesser. I always wonder about the distinction between person of interest and suspect, because we do know that there was a search warrant in his home, his parents' home, where he had a bedroom, and there presumably was probable cause. We probably have a sealed search warrant affidavit. But what is in there? Because probable cause is probable cause is probable cause. That means they have probable cause to arrest him, presumably on the homicide, if they have probable cause to get issuance of a search warrant, a finding by a judge. So that's kind of interesting too, but they're not doing that right now. They're not saying that they have probable cause. They're calling him a person of interest only.
Yeah, and talking about what could be found in that van, Ann Jeanette Levy interviewed forensic death investigator Joseph Scott Morgan discussing this evidence. Take a look.
He was in possession of that van for several days after she had died. My question as a forensic scientist, what'd you do with the van in the meantime? Did you take time to clean that van out? Where are all of those items that were contained in the van? Is there anybody that knows what was in the inventory of that van when you left and what was absent out of that van upon return? He and she are probably the only two people that have the answer to that question. Is there evidence within that van that, let's just play a game here, and let's just suppose that he did make an attempt to clean up the van because of some kind of non-specific nefarious activity, okay? Did he get everything? When you begin to think about blood evidence and all those sorts of things, look, living day to day in an environment in a tight confine like that, you're going to find DNA. People say, well, what about DNA? You're going to find it. Our skin sloughs off. There's all kinds of body fluids and things that are exchanged in a tight space like this. Let's face it. But is there something that is so over the top that you find, like large areas of blood in an area, tufts of hair, things like that, that would give you an indication that something really bad happened in there? Has there been sufficient amount of time for that to have been cleaned? And is that evidence all gone? Or was something missed in the cleaning procedure? I've seen that happen any number of times.
And Tammy, I wonder, when does he go from being a person of interest to a suspect in this? Because there is the possibility, that at least people were wondering, did he just drop her off and something else happened to her? Or did someone else do something and he panicked and ran away? Is someone else responsible? But clearly he was in possession of that van. He has answers, and then he lawyered up. So as you just heard from Joseph, they need to speak with him and they need to understand. But there's a possibility that he's no longer alive, right, as the search progresses. If he's not alive, what happens then?
Ooh, Jesse, that is the million-dollar question. What happens then if he is no longer alive? We probably can assume that he is responsible for the death of Gabby Petito if he is not found alive. However, we don't know that yet. But I think that what Joseph was saying, he was hitting the nail on the head. Once there is enough evidence, right, during the investigation, that is when Mr. Laundrie changes from a person of interest to a suspect. Typically, prosecutors want to wait until they have enough evidence to bring charges against an individual, because that charging document, that's very important, because that's what's going to stick with them throughout the duration of the case. And they are going to be trying to prove beyond a reasonable doubt whatever charges they put in that charging document. So right now, there's a lot of questions, and I believe they're investigating to try to find some answers to those questions.
And Ann, I just don't understand, if he is picked up, how's he going to explain any of this? Because the sense is, if he was using her debit card, first of all, you just leave, you drive all the way back to Florida without her, then you're using her card, again, presumably, allegedly.
Right.
How is he going to not look guilty? I mean, he already looks guilty. How do you flip it around? Because I have to tell you, I find it so strange that his defense, not his defense attorney, his family attorney, said, when he came back home, we're hoping for Gabby's safe return. A part of me believes that Laundrie said she's alive, but I ran away or I drove away.
Yeah, well, I mean, the silence in this case was ill-advised. I know a lot of lawyers have said that he can remain silent, but it's been terrible. She's missing. He comes back without her. It's very clear now that she's been murdered. So, I mean, what does he come up with now? It's like turning around a super tanker of information. He can't do it. I mean, he's basically in a position where he can't explain any of this. Why is he using your debit card? You know, why did he make that little grave that he may have made with the stones? You know, why was there domestic violence that was being, you know, reported, and weird behavior in a restaurant, abusive behavior where she's apologizing for him? And by the way, the texts that were being sent from her phone looked like they were from him. There's so much circumstantial evidence right now, and evidence of flight is evidence of guilt, as we all know. And then finally, if he's dead, let's look at what was my Susan Cox Powell case. I mean, Josh Powell's presumably killed his wife. They called him interchangeably a person of interest and a suspect. Ultimately, after he killed their children, he kills himself. They're still looking for Susan. They've never found her body. But those investigations can continue in looking for somebody, but the criminal case ceases, of course.
And with the amount of tension and pressure and focus on this, yeah, even if he is deceased, I'm sure people are going to still want more answers. And we're going to continue to follow what happens with the Gabby Petito case here on Law and Crime. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we have to talk about Theranos founder Elizabeth Holmes. We'll be back.
Oh, yeah.
I'm Dan Abrams, and you're watching Law and Crime.
From the makers of top-selling Super Beets comes new Super Beets Heart Chews, a superfood breakthrough that's bursting with flavor and unique polyphenols that help support healthy blood pressure and circulation so your body can produce more heart-healthy energy.
The chews are so great. Super Beets gets me going. It gets my circulation flowing, and I have that energy all through the day. It's just fantastic. I love it.
When I researched Super Beets, I was impressed by all the science behind the Super Beets chews. It's amazing that something so simple can be this great for my heart.
What makes Super Beets polyphenols so different from other antioxidants? In a leading clinical study, Super Beets polyphenol compound was shown nearly 2 times as effective at promoting normal blood pressure as a healthy lifestyle alone.
In my 31 years of helping people maintain healthy blood pressure, I've never seen a polyphenol compound this effective. Super Beets antioxidants help support healthy blood pressure and help your body produce more energy.
I never knew how my blood pressure and my blood flow were so connected to my energy level, and now I know. I'm playing tennis longer. I don't get tired after one set. I can totally feel the difference.
Call now and find out how you can get a free 30-day supply of Super Beets Heart Chews plus a free bonus pack of delicious vitamin D3 chews for immune health support. Act now and we'll even include free shipping and free returns, all backed by our 90-day money-back guarantee. That's over $30 in total free gifts. So try Super Beets Chews today.
I love the chews because they're delicious and they're so convenient.
I absolutely love what they do for my energy. My blood pressure is healthy, and my energy level has been phenomenal.
So do something good for your blood pressure and your energy. Love your results or your money back.
Call 1-800-653-3280 or visit superbeetschews.com. That's 1-800-653-3280. Call today.
Stay tuned to get 2 rolls of Alien Tape free. You heard that right, free. Finally, there's Alien Tape, a revolutionary new tape that doesn't use adhesive, but strong enough to hold an incredible 17.5 pounds on most surfaces. You'll love Alien Tape, the incredible new advanced grip technology tape that instantly locks anything into place without screws or anchors. There's more. Alien Tape is reusable. Remove it, rinse it, and reuse it. Use it again and it's just as strong. Use Alien Tape to hold stuff in place. It locks right down instantly. Keep things secure until you're done. Just give it a twist and it comes right off. Alien Tape comes right off because it doesn't use adhesive. But on drywall, it's a permanent alternative to nails. No need to drill into cabinets. Alien Tape will stay in place until you decide to take it off. Alien Tape is perfect for glass. Use it for heavy towels and it stays in place. When you're done, remove it and there's no residue. Alien Tape defies gravity, even when it's wet. You'll love it. Alien Tape grips to most surfaces instantly. Hang heavy pictures on stone in a flash. Use Alien Tape outdoors. No screws or permanent holes. Alien Tape is the reusable double-sided tape you'll use everywhere. Alien Tape stops furniture from sliding and won't damage floors. You'll love it. Alien Tape keeps carpets in place. Use Alien Tape in the car for backseat entertainment or easily secure your cell phone while driving. Call or go online to get your roll of the incredible Alien Tape for the low price of just $19.99 plus shipping and processing. But wait, order today and you can get 2 additional rolls of Alien Tape. absolutely free. That's right, for a limited time, you can get 3 rolls of alien tape for one low price. That's an amazing amount of alien tape. Don't delay. Get yours today. Here's how to order.
Call 1-800-496-5486 or go to tryalientape.com. So call 1-800-496-5486. That's 1-800-496-5486 or order online at tryalientape.com.
I'm Terry Austin, and you're watching Law and Crime.
All right, welcome back, everybody. It's time to talk about the trial of Theranos founder Elizabeth Holmes. The 37-year-old founder is accused of lying to patients, doctors, and investors about how her company's blood testing worked. Holmes, whose company was once valued at $9 billion, was indicted in 2018 on 11 counts of wire fraud and conspiracy to commit wire fraud. In the third week of trial, we've been hearing from a number of whistleblowers coming forward in court, and today, lab director Adam Rosendorf took the stand to add to that list. Rosendorf said he took a job at Theranos in 2013, looking forward to the company's capabilities to benefit patients. However, just over a year later, he quit, saying that he lacked confidence in the test results that the company provided to patients and that Theranos cared more about good press and money than patient care. Earlier this week, former Defense Secretary Jim Mattis also took the stand, and Mattis discussed how he was blindsided to learn that the company's blood testing devices didn't work as well as Holmes had claimed, even investing $85,000 of his own money into the startup. Now, there is, before we break this down, and clearly there's a lot too, I want to mention that cameras aren't allowed in the courtroom, so we're just, providing updates to you as information as it comes out. So let's talk about it. I know my guests are eager to talk about Elizabeth Holmes. Tammy, I'll start with you. This becomes a case where the prosecution is saying that she is a fraudster. You have the defense saying bad businesswoman. At this point, how strong is the prosecution's case?
The prosecution's case is very strong. Elizabeth Holmes and her company, Theranos, this is the fire festival of startups here. She continually misled investors, knowing that what she presented to them was not working. And I understand that, she's coming across as being young and she's accusing, her romantic partner of alleged domestic violence. But this is a woman who attended Stanford University, okay? Despite the fact that she dropped out, she still knew how to navigate, use professors that were at Stanford to assist her with this company. The way that she maneuvered was very strategic, and I think the prosecution, they would not have brought this indictment if they did not have very strong evidence that they could prove that she misled investors beyond a reasonable doubt.
But Ann, by all accounts, she's going to take the stand and explain her side of the story. First, I'll be very curious if she uses the same voice that has become kind of infamous. Right. But the truth is, if she was able to be so convincing to so many people, if she were to take the stand and say, listen, my intentions were pure. I wasn't kept in the day-to-day. I tried to push forward. Right. I don't have the right business sense. Maybe I kind of was delusional myself. And also I had this pressure from this boyfriend who was a big official at the company. Any of that going to sell? Right. Any of that going to work for a jury?
Jesse, she sold it before. I mean, obviously, she sold to some very smart people. And I have to say, I'm a Stanford graduate, and I did drop out. But, I mean, she did very well for herself for a long period of time, having gone to Stanford and bringing really a very important professor with her that totally believed her, within that area of expertise. So is she a true believer? The answer is yes. And she's going to be able to convince the jury, she thinks, that this was all like the Edison. It was like something that, like, you fake it till you make it kind of thing. But it's not really that. It's like the Thomas Edison had so many failures before he was successful. And basically that's where she was. She was out there doing something that would change the world. And she believed in it, from start to finish. She's not a good business person. And by the way, she had the abusive business partner/husband, whose lawyer, by the way, is up here in Seattle. His trial comes next. But she's basically using a lot of her wits and charm, as she did with her company, in this trial, I think.
Well, I'm curious to see what happens. There's still more that we're going to cover when it comes to Elizabeth Holmes, but we're going to take a break. When we come back, we have to talk about Nicki Minaj because she's in hot water for her husband's rape accuser speaking out. We'll be back. I'm Jesse Weber, and you're watching Law and Crime.
You can either spin the wheel and win a delicious meal with an affordable price tag, or you can pay $100 for this drawing of dinner.
I'm gonna need a second to think about it.
Okay, well, while he's figuring that out, Emily, what's it gonna be?
The wheel.
Emily, you've won a delicious, simple, and satisfying dinner with every plate. Get your first box for only $1.99 a meal using offer code EPTV199.
Engaged, but not sure what to do next? Plan your whole wedding at Zola. Start with venues and vendors near you. We'll find ones that fit your style and budget. Then explore Save the Dates. Enjoy free personalized samples and free change the dates just in case. Add a free matching website to keep guests updated. You can even host virtual events on it for free. Build a registry that lives on your website too. Fill it with gifts, experiences, even cash funds. Start planning from home at Zola.com.
The future of fitness isn't dumbbells. It's revolutionary digital weight that learns as you get stronger. So you can be your strongest. Tonal, now at 40 Nordstrom locations nationwide.
This is Marianne's first time visiting Paris.
Madame, où allez-vous?
Before Marianne packed her bags, before she attempted her first sentence in French, before she completed her first 15-minute lesson,
Yes.
she downloaded Babbel. Babbel helped unlock her lifelong dream of learning French. She started speaking in just 3 weeks. So when it came time to tell the cab driver to take her to the Hotel Pierre,
J'aimerais aller à l'Hôtel Pierre.
Oh, c'est très bien. J'espère que votre voyage s'est bien passé.
150 language experts and educators designed Babbel to be the most efficient and effective way to learn a new language. Babbel focuses on natural conversation. You'll remember what you learn, and you can speak and pronounce with confidence. Start speaking a new language in 3 weeks. Try it for free at Babbel.com.
Coming up tonight at 10 p.m.
The national manhunt for Brian Laundrie, but no charges yet in the death of Gabby Petito.
The odds are, the overwhelming odds are, that she was killed by someone she knows.
Plus,
There's no evidence.
the jury heads to deliberation in the federal case against R. Kelly. Then trial begins for the Mennonite murderer.
Watch Law and Crime Daily on the Law and Crime Network, weeknights at 10 p.m. Eastern.
All right, welcome back, everybody. To close out our show this evening, I want to cover another big story circulating in the news this week. Nicki Minaj and her husband, Kenneth Petty, were sued for harassment last month by Jennifer Huff, a former attempted rape victim of Petty. Back in 1995, Petty was convicted of first-degree attempted rape on Huff in New York, resulting in a mandatory sex offender registry. Earlier this month, Petty was charged with failure to register as a sex offender in California and ultimately took a plea deal. But just this week, Huff appeared on the talk show The Real, explaining that the celebrity couple has been harassing her for years to change her story. Huff said that this has forced her to relocate several times, and she even turned down a bribe for $500,000 from the couple in exchange for her silence. So let's actually listen in to a snippet of her story from The Real.
Down, and I told her, woman to woman, this really happened. And I hadn't spoken to her since.
Now, you allege that Nicki and Kenneth were harassing you. In what way?
With them sending people to negotiate numbers as far as money is concerned with family members. And Nicki is the one who personally reached out to me. She's, you know, in regards to helping her helping them in this situation.
All right, so Tammy, I'm going to you. And Tammy, I'm going to you because you are no stranger to calling out celebrities when they do certain things. I think everybody on social media knows that when it came to Tory Lanez arrest report for his restraining order on Meg Thee Stallion, you had a lot to say, so I give you the floor here on maybe putting celebrities in their place, if this is true. What do you think?
Listen, I'm not the one to put any celebrity in their place. I'm just here to let the people know the truth and navigate the criminal justice system. We can't be out here screaming for reform if we don't understand how the criminal justice system works. So I just simply stalk it and dispel the rumors that he was not going back to jail. And it just stood out to me that he was 5'3" and 120 pounds. That's tiny. However, he did correct the record and say booking never took his height or weight, and he is in fact 5'8", allegedly. Now, as it pertains to Ms. Hugh, on a serious note, we understand that, yes, she was a victim of rape by Nicki Minaj's husband, Kenneth Petty. But I think it's very important to note that, yes, Nicki Minaj is a celebrity. She is a very well-decorated and talented rapper. She has nothing to do with Mr. Petty and his crimes from 1995 that he has already been found guilty of and served his time for. As we know, I'm a federal executive clemency expert, and I push for clemency, which is forgiveness. Typically, these types of allegations don't qualify for the forgiveness that clemency brings. However, it's still important to note that Mr. Petty was found guilty, he served his time, and it's a very delicate balancing scale of acknowledging the victim and what she went through, but also recognizing the fact that Mr. Petty has served his time, he has paid his debt to society, and he is deserving of some type of forgiveness to continue on with his life. I don't understand why now, and according to that interview on The Real, from what I heard, she stated that she only spoke to Nicki Minaj one time. So why Nicki's name is constantly being brought up, I'm a little confused, and I think we need to just sit and wait until we receive more information in order to fully evaluate what exactly is going on.
Well, Ann, this is a $15 million lawsuit alleging things from witness intimidation, intentional negligent infliction of emotional distress, harassment. I mean, this is a big deal. Now, I know in this country anybody can sue anybody for anything, but to go after and make these accusations, it doesn't feel like it's coming out of nowhere. So how could this ultimately resolve itself, ultimately, if it's not settled? I mean, if this goes to trial, what are we looking at here?
Well, I mean, it's the kind of case I think people would be outraged about is there's harassment of a rape victim, that they won't leave her alone, that they're trying to give her money to say certain things. On failing to register, you're looking at potential criminal charges on that or some kind of punishment. So obviously there's intimidation going on this to stop her from using her free speech rights. So it's the kind of case that could be a bombshell and very expensive, you know, for the defendants. And obviously she didn't file something like this before. She's filing it now because she's fed up and it's gone on for far too long. And the use of celebrity and woman-to-woman kind of references like that have really gotten to her, and she's going to fight back. And I think a lot of people would say in a lawsuit, you know, we don't blame you. I don't know about the amounts that she's claiming, you know, and we basically have notice pleading in this country, so we don't know all of the details. But where there's smoke, there's fire, and I think what we're hearing here is of concern.
Well, Tammy, I'm not familiar with any counterclaims yet, but let's say, for example, Nicki and Petty are like, this is total lies. We're going to sue her now. We're going to counterclaim. What could that look like? How do they put up a defense other than denying this? Well, could they sue her for something?
Yes, like Ann said, anyone can sue anyone for anything, right? And I think that strategically, in order for this not to taint who, you know, Nicki Minaj is, her reputation, her talent, the things that she has worked hard for independently prior to her marriage, I think that countersuing and playing this out in media probably would not be what is going to happen. A lot of times we see that there are settlements that happen behind closed doors in order to preserve the reputation of both parties. The victim, who there's no dispute that, yes, she was raped, right? But there is a dispute if, in fact, there was harassment to silence her, We don't know for sure. We haven't heard from Mr. Petty or Ms. Minaj. We have heard from Jennifer Hugh on The Real. So I think that, only time can tell what evidence is out there. And as I stated earlier, from what she said on The Real, she only spoke to Nicki Minaj one time. And it doesn't really sound like that was harassment.
Well, it is also being alleged that Nicki hired other people to engage in this campaign of harassment as well. Maybe not her directly, but from other people. And just to let everybody know, this is just the civil arena. So Perry faces, up to 10 years in prison for failing to register as a sex offender. Clearly, there is going to be a lot on their plate as this moves forward, but it's an interesting case, and it's a little disturbing to hear these allegations levied against everybody. So we're going to continue to follow it. Tammy, Ann, appreciate you coming on this evening to break down these cases with me. Appreciate it as always. Great to have you both. Everyone out there, that's all we have for tonight. We're going to be back on Monday, 9 a.m. with our continued coverage here on the Law and Crime Network. Have a great weekend. We'll see you then.